Pitching is something that I learned on the phone. So learning it on the phone is applicable to, I guess, cold email, but not in the same way. Copywriting and phone sales are two very different arts, let's say. But I remember my first opening line when I was calling on the phone. It was, "Good afternoon, my name is Tristan Tate. I'm calling from T3 Television, and I'd like to discuss the opportunity of television advertising for your company." That was the first line that I would say on the phone. So, who I was, where I was calling from, what I wanted from them, what I wanted them to entertain the idea of. Because it was always a tantalizing carrot I'd dangle in front of them, "I'd like to discuss the possibility of television advertising for your company." I was waiting then for a series of objections. So to pitch, you need to come across letting them know who you are and what you want very fast, because CEOs and people who own businesses have very little time for idiots on the phone. Objections are the key to telephone sales and face-to-face sales as well. Everyone's going to try to say no for a bunch of different reasons, and you have to be able to counter them very, very quickly. So let's take television advertising again. "I'm calling to discuss the possibility of television advertising for your company." "Well, that's too expensive. I can't afford television advertising." "Well, do you know how much television advertising is nowadays?" And they'd be like, "Well, no, but I imagine it's quite expensive." And I say, "Well, you know what? You're completely correct. You don't belittle them. You're completely correct. But your ideas are outdated, because back in the 1990s, when there were only 4 television channels to advertise on, these big media companies had a monopoly over the fact that people watch television, and only big blue chip companies could afford it. However, since the advent of cable television and the 200 plus channels you have across your home, it's given us 2 advantages. One, the prices have come right down because there's more channels to compete with one another. And 2, you can specify exactly which demographics you want to reach with your television commercials. For example, if you're trying to sell to women and you're selling makeup, we could target Sex in the City on this channel. If you're trying to target men, then we can use 2.5 Men on Comedy Central. And you'd wow them with knowledge while overcoming their objections. So the art of pitching is to be able to turn any no or any "I don't think so" or any "I'm not interested" into a question, into them being curious. And it's something that we call the desire curve. Of course, everybody wants television advertising, but they don't think it's right for their business. They don't think they can afford it. You start at 0, and the close can only be made on the graph once you get their desire high enough. That's when they say, "Yes, I'm happy to meet you face to face." So pitching is all about face-to-face or on the phone in a live conversation with a person, how to deal with and overcome their objections to not wanting the product that you want to sell. That's my favorite fight story, and the haters on the internet find this fight. It lasts about 2 minutes into the first round, and I tap out. It was my first ever MMA fight. But I think that's one of my proudest moments in fighting and one of my coolest stories. I just injured my shoulder, right? I was in a car crash. I hadn't done any physical training for months. I was in a lot of pain, and the head, the champion of the federation, his opponent pulled out. So the head of this fight show calls me, says, "Look, Tristan, I need a fighter last minute." Andrew was in the Big Brother house at the time, so I didn't have Andrew. My fight coach was in another country. I didn't have him. I didn't have anybody. So I just said, "You know what? Yeah, fuck it. I'll do it. I'll take the fight in on 1 day's notice, and I'll get in there and try to win." I didn't win, but I think that's one of my proudest stories in fighting, and it's a pretty cool story, if you know the background to it. The fight, at the very beginning, we were talking with the rules, and they said, "Look, because you've come in last minute, would you like to alter the rules? Maybe the first round, no wrestling, so it's just going to be stand-up, which is your arena." And I said, "No, I don't want to alter the rules at all. I would like the rules to be full MMA rules, and I want the rules that way because if I do knock him out, then I've won, and I'm not going to have him making any excuses." So I spoke very rudimentary basic Romanian at the time, but I heard his corner just telling him to grab me and wrestle me. So I threw 11 head-high kicks in those 2 minutes, I believe, 11. Because my arm was injured, my shoulder was injured, I couldn't jab properly, so I couldn't line up my right hand. And I knew if I could catch him with a head kick, I could actually knock him out. It didn't work. One of the kicks I missed, and I span around. That's how he grabbed me from the back and got me onto the ground for the first time. And I essentially tapped because I got off the ground the first time just by brute forcing my way up. And then when I tried that the second time, my shoulder was slipping out of place as I was pushing him. So I was like, okay, well now I can't get up. My shoulder's falling out of place when I'm trying to push this guy off me. So I just tapped and ended the fight. But pretty cool story. I earned a lot of respect. All the fighters in Romania, all the fighters from the show, they work as doormen and stuff in Bucharest. I earned a lot of credit in my city and in the Romanian community for doing that. If you don't know what the next step is, I can't give you a specific answer because the next step is different for different people. What did I do? I worked on my sports career. I thought it might make me some money. It didn't. But I thought if I could become the world champion of kickboxing, I'll have some fame and some money and a good life, and I can use that money to invest in things and set myself up. And I pursued a sports career. Now, if you're not built like me and you're not designed like me and you're not big like me, maybe a kickboxing career isn't right for you. But certainly the world of professional sports is good for anybody with an athletic background. I'm terrible at soccer. You might be good at soccer. There's nothing wrong, instead of going to university, applying yourself towards some type of professional sport, whether it be long jumping, weightlifting, boxing, whatever you're good at. Because these people, let's be honest, are some of the most successful people in the world. When you talk about who are the richest, most successful, most famous people in the world, you don't say the guy who went to this university, the guy who went to that university. You're talking NBA, you're talking NFL, you're talking soccer, you're talking baseball, you're talking boxing, you're talking golf. So professional sports is a very, very good outlet to drive yourself into, because even if you don't make the big money, like I didn't, because I didn't, you learn a lot of hard lessons along the way. You're in great physical shape. You've learned how to deal with ups and downs and wins and losses and injuries and setbacks. You're far more prepared for the world, I believe, after a 4-year career in boxing, which ends abruptly before you made any money, than you would be if you spent 4 years studying something generic like business.
I've never purposefully been a clown, and that's what a lot of these people, even if some of these streamers do grow up to be, I guess, mature adults when they're in their late 30s and 40s, when they're closer to my age. If they do, I think they'll look back at their content and be deeply ashamed of themselves, because I think that they are purposefully being clowns. They're purposefully acting stupid and saying and doing very stupid things. Although I don't agree with everything I used to say, and although I don't smile at my old content pridefully a lot of the time, I never purposefully acted like a clown. I never made a joke out of myself or a joke out of my life. I always said what I believed was true at the time, and I always did what I thought was right or smart at the time. So as many things as I got wrong when I was younger, I was still a young man doing my very best, to make it, out there in this cold world, and I became rich as fuck eventually, so it must have worked. Yeah, don't make a clown of yourself. If I know that, I was sitting there in front of a camera at 25 talking about how I run all these webcam models. It's come back to haunt me, obviously, because, the Romanian justice system is trying to, butcher my life because of that. But there's me at 25 talking about running webcam models or any of the stupid shit I was doing. Yeah, I still didn't make a joke out of myself. I never wore stupid costumes. I never painted my face stupid colors. I never screamed and jumped around and acted like an animal or a monkey like a lot of these people on the internet. I was doing the best I could at the time. And I wasn't right about everything, but I have nothing to be ashamed of.
Now, copywriting is a very different art because it doesn't work like a free-flowing conversation. And I'm quite good at it, and I did a lot of the early copywriting for mine and Andrew's businesses when we first started out. However, I'm not an expert. So if you want to learn 2024 sales, don't listen to me, the 36-year-old man who has a career in sales in the past and on the phone. Very, very useful skills to know and still applicable today. However, if you're looking for sales information on how to sell via email, how to copyright, how to send cold correspondence and get clients back,
I've only told you part of the truth. The real secrets of the Matrix can only be shared on uncensored platforms. Above is a link to my Telegram channel, where everything